Great. So if you've come this far, I can assure you that even if you actually stop at this point and practice what you've learned so far, you're going to be a brilliant leader. But I want to share a few more things with you. And this is one of the most remarkable qualities that you can have as a leader, and in the absence of which you might find some dimension or the other of your leadership withering in the vine. So it's what I called listening. Now, why is it so important to listen? Well, try this out. Think about three people who you really like, or three people who are really close to you, whose company you enjoy. And try to not make these people who are part of your family or part of your really close circuit. And think about what is it that you like about them. You will notice that listening is an important component of this. Either you really love listening to them, or they are people who really listen to you. Now, of course, we have really limited control in terms of how much somebody else might love listening to us. It's likely that they don't. And maybe there are people out there who don't like listening much, and we don't have much control over that. But what we do have control over is how much we can listen to someone else. And that in itself is a hugely likable quality. If you can just listen to people, you will be more likable. And by the way, this is a great secret. It shouldn't be part of this program, but if you want to be irritating, if you want to be hated, one of the quickest things to do is for you to stop listening. If somebody's talking to you, don't listen to them. Look here and there. Be distracted. Look into your phone. And you'll see how quickly you're hated and, classified as an irritating person. But if you want to be a good leader, if you want to be somebody who's liked, it's important that you listen. Of course, I'm not suggesting that as a person who's building and leading a great team, you just be liked and therefore you have to listen. That's one component of it. I spoke earlier about domain expertise. I spoke earlier about knowing who's in your team, knowing qualities of people, and also about something called a smart delegation. To be able to do all these things, it's important that you listen to team members. When people come and talk to you, listen to them. Here are some things. I'm going to classify these into maybe basic and slightly more advanced tips. The first basic tip that I have when you're listening to somebody is, by the way, I'm going to do all this keeping in mind face-to-face, because I said one of the qualities of being a good leader is to just be present and be there. So the first thing is to make eye contact. If somebody's talking to you, stop what you're doing and look at that person. I think that's the most basic thing that you could do. The second thing, don't be stressed of having to remember each and everything that the person's saying. So it's all right to pick out a notepad and make notes. And tell that person, great, I just want to make sure I capture everything, so I'm going to make notes. Another thing that you could do, when somebody is talking to you, there's this whole phenomenon called active listening. This is about listening and letting the other person know that you're listening to the other person. So what would you do? Verbal acknowledgement, shaking your head, looking at the person, telling the person, oh yes, I get it. That's right. Perfect. Ideally use a combination of phrases. It could be quite monotonous to keep saying, okay, 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 okay. So use a combination of these phrases, which will make the other person know that you're listening to that person. Showing or demonstrating relevant expressions. If they said something shocking, look shocked. If they said something funny, giggle or laugh. So your expressions have to match what the other person's saying. And you would have read this in a lot of books, and these are what I classify as the basic skills. And maybe just let me throw in one more basic skill, which is paraphrasing. How else do I let the other person know that I'm listening to that person? So I would repeat back to that person what they just said. So if someone came and spoke to me and said, I had a really difficult day, it started at 6 in the morning and then I reached office, I had a tough traffic day and they described the traffic. I had a tough morning full of meetings and they described the meetings. Lunch was complicated and they described the complication. After lunch, I had my performance appraisal and they described that. And while coming back, there was it started raining and they got stuck in the rain. Now you would paraphrase this and say, there were so many different things that happened today. So it was a jam-packed day and it was tough for you. Is that what you're saying? This is what I call paraphrasing. Now, if you can practice a lot of these, you would already be listening to the other person well. Also try some of these things. try asking yourself, because I know a lot of people who can practice the techniques, but they still don't listen well. And a part of the reason is they just don't care. If I don't care about the other person, if I don't care about my team member, I'm just not going to listen to that person. And maybe you can go back to the previous module and ask yourself why. Ask yourself, why is it that I don't care about this team member? And maybe one of my qualities is I hate incompetence. I like to listen to competent people, but I don't want to listen to incompetent people. And once I know this, I know that I have to make this person more competent, and then I just become a better listener. Because I have this listening button on in my head. It just doesn't come on all the time. It comes on with people who are competent. So once I know this, it's going to help me listen. The other thing which you could practice, and this is really helpful, learn to just keep quiet and not say anything. And this is something that you got to practice. When somebody is talking to you, just don't say anything. Just nonverbal and verbal acknowledgement. Let that person finish, and then there's going to be a pause. So here's what I notice often. You're talking to somebody, you're still talking, and the other person's doing something like, trying to tell you, yeah, I get it. I'm going to come out with my part of it. Never do that. Just wait for them to finish. And once they finish, there's going to be a pause. And at that time, you will still not respond. You'll say something like, what else? You'll say something like, tell me more. And there will be a point where that person has nothing else to say. And mostly, you will see a physical shift in their state. They'll do something to the effect of, like a sigh. That's a sign that they've told you everything that they had to say. And that's a good time for you to speak. So try these out. This is a good way for you to listen. Linking this back to why we're doing this because you're leading a team. And important things to happen to you as a leader is for the group to like you, is for the team that you're leading to like you, and for you to know exactly what's happening in the team. And for those reasons, follow the basic and those 2 advanced techniques of listening that I just shared.